catalyst for my involvement with the UTG and the Lake Pedder Action Committee was the experience of Lake Pedder. It was, I think, the summer of 71-72 that I first went into Lake Pedder via the Coronets with a group of people. After we'd made camp, we sort of walked out into the evening on the sandy beach, and it wasn't very long before none of us were able to talk to each other. We were sort of choked up with the emotion of the place, and it's that emotion, I suppose, which was prevalent to a lot of people who went to Lake Pedder.
The people that I mixed with at the time that were involved in Lake Pedder, they saw Lake Pedder as an icon, as a special place, and being there was special too. It was a sort of, you recognised it was very special. I guess it's the shape of the landscape, the water being so far inland, the size of the beach in summertime, you know, a big enough area to take the whole of the CBD of Melbourne or Sydney, much bigger than people realise.
Once Lake Pedder was inundated, it was unable to speak for itself.
As a result of getting involved in the Lake Pedder Action Committee, then people started to talk about the election, the forthcoming election, and how we could influence the election. And I mean, put simply, the best way to influence an election really is to get involved and to become part of the process.
Dick Jones was an ecologist, a scientist. He worked for CSIRO in New South Wales and then came to take up a position at the University of Tasmania. And it was he and other people that were involved in environmental issues that then decided that they would have to form a grouping. People
started to talk to other people and let's have a meeting and at the town hall and see how that process can be expanded on. And so a meeting was organised.
I think that they went there with the idea of creating something like the United Tasmania Group.
It was absolutely packed, including all there's a room at the back of the town hall which was open, and everything was just packed out. But we finally got in there, and my recollection is that there was a lot of people from the hydro there.
They sort of stood out like, policemen at a hippie rally or something,
It was a very volatile meeting, and lots of yelling and shouting.
And this was a bit unusual in Hobart at the time. There hadn't been any, public meetings like that weren't often held. And it was really sort of old-style tub-thumping politics, I suppose, that had happened many, many years ago. After a number of speakers, there was questions from the floor, but Dick Jones moved from the floor this motion.
That we should take political action and that people should get together and get involved in the state election at the time. And he put the motion, but because I think we hadn't realised how many people were there who were in fact on the opposite side, they voiced their opposition to the motion louder than the people that were supporting the motion.
A lot of people felt this wasn't the purpose of the meeting and felt they'd been sort of somewhat duped, and so it was really quite controversial.
So once he put the motion again and people suddenly became aware that the meeting was stacked, there was a huge shout. I mean, it could have lifted the roof off. It was huge to vote for supporting the idea of taking political action. Yeah.
But afterwards, people stayed behind to give their names and to sort of sign up for the election.
The general air in the town hall seemed to be one of optimism.
I think essentially we're trying to get an outcome for Lake Pedder. I don't think any of us saw what it would grow into.